It is press coverage. Glen Suitor joining us as travels continue. That's why we got to work around your travels, Glen. It's been a whirlwind. I think this is the home stretch though. Now, a new hat again today. Give us the background on the hat.
Yes. Well, this hat is the Newcastle United Football Club, which is soccer to us in North America, but they're a football club. And you know how crazy this is Premier League stuff, I understand. And they haven't won anything really in over 60 years. And they had a cup game. I think it's called the Carabao Cup. I have it right on the side of the hat here. I had to buy the championship hat. And they beat Liverpool 2-0 or 2-0, I guess we're supposed to say. And the city of Newcastle erupted. And I was really taking notes, Barney, on just the level of fandom, the level of and how is it different than in Canada? Even if you're talking hockey or whatever sport, how is it different? And it's hard to put your finger on it. First of all, the city erupted. Everywhere you go, they were wearing the uniforms. They all know their guys. The commentators were talking about that the players were walking on water and would for the rest of their lives here in Newcastle. Now, I'm in Edinburgh now, so we made the trip up today. But so I studied the fans and talked to a bunch of them. And I think the only difference, the closest that we come in Canada are the Rider fans, honestly. And the reason for that is no matter where your team is, they are going to cheer for your team. It's not cheering for a league. It's not, I like this league better than that league. There's none of that goes on. If they get relegated down to Division 3 or something, these fans stay loyal to the bone and crazy. And when they win, the entire city comes together. Now, I'm not sure the population of Newcastle, but I have not. I've been to Super Bowls. I've been to many, many Grey Cups. I have never seen this level of fan engagement than I've seen firsthand now in Newcastle, England, which is just down the road from Edinburgh, where we are now.
Over 60 years winning a championship. So, well, you were there. You held the kick when we won in '89. Like, that was a drought. 60 years?
Yeah.
Like, we're getting into like a Canadian NHL team winning the Stanley Cup now kind of realm.
Well, it really is. And that's why I was trying to compare. Let's say hypothetically that happens and a Canadian team goes right to the final and wins the Stanley Cup. Is that going to be a provincial win for whichever team it is? Let's say it's the Edmonton Oilers. If it's the Edmonton Oilers, is just Alberta going to experience that and love that, or is it going to be a Canadian thing? I just got the sense that they are so devoted to the uniform, to the team. Everybody knows every player. I know it's soccer; it's different than a 50-man roster in football. But yeah. One other thing, and I don't want to get political, but I might just have to. We always were introducing ourselves as Canadians. I mean, if you're a Canadian in the UK, you're partners, you're brothers in arms, you are the best friend of this country.
Yes.
And we are, which is awesome.
The overtaxed cousin.
Yeah, exactly. Well put, and that was brought up. But whether it was a guy singing at the cave, or the cavern, or it was a guy at the coffee shop that we talked to, I started to ask, once I introduced myself as being Canadian, I started to ask, how much they knew about our politics. And every single person said, you can keep Mark Carney. We don't want him. So like I said, I'm not trying to be political here. This is anecdotally,
Yeah.
no one in the UK was very happy with Mark Carney. So
What did he do to them?
well,
Did he mess up their soccer schedule at some point?
well, you know what, I think a couple of them said, and I don't know, I haven't done enough reading in this, but a couple of them have said that Mark Carney was the head of or part of the Bank of England, and
Oh.
there was he's been, you know, here in the UK, influential in the financial world and the economics
Yeah.
of
Okay.
this region. So
We can leave it. We can leave it at that. You don't mess
yeah,
with a guy's money. Never
yeah,
mess with a guy's money, right?
exactly. There's not many fans over here for Mark Carney. I'll just say that.
Okay, so the CFL Combine
Yeah.
firing in Regina later this week. Exciting for a lot of the guys. Dave Thomas has done a great job giving us little snippets of the Saskatchewan athletes that will be competing. And you just get a sense in every guy that he talks to, Glenn, on just like that dream of playing pro football. And yes, you know, the NFL is the league here, but it just seems like these and it's something for the fans to really recognize. And it's not an open, you know, anyone can go to it. So people be careful out there. If you're a Rider season ticket holder, there's some, you know, you can look into that. But it's just the passion that these kids have to be able to compete at this for a chance to play in the CFL.
Yeah. It's a chance to professionally, you know, make a living playing the game you love. And you know, it's more than just the money too, because first of all, a lot of these kids that have, especially the U Sport kids, but even the kids that go down to the States for college ball, they played high school football in Canada. And if they haven't played high school football, they were probably playing hockey in Canada, but they've seen many Grey Cups. You know, I had a conversation with the commissioner, Randy Ambrosi, well, the outgoing commissioner, Randy, a few months ago, and we talked about the Canadian influence. And I said, you know, if you go back to the last 4 or 5 Grey Cup games, it's been a Canadian that has made the key play in the game. And you know, yes, I wave the flag. Don't get me wrong, and I'm not in any way trying to diminish the quality of athlete the Americans coming up, because they're outstanding, and quite honestly, they're often more pro ready when they arrive than a kid coming out of college at U Sports. That's changing, by the way. It's getting closer and closer all the time. But yeah, you know, I've been in that spot where you think you have a chance. You've heard from coaches. You've tested out pretty well, and there are some teams interested because you hear that through an agent, and then you go to the combine and you think, if I do well here, I have a chance to be drafted. If you get drafted, you have one foot in the door. That's your opportunity, and now it becomes more in your control as to whether or not you can make the team. And because you get a chance to get out there and get reps. Because you know, and I've often said, if you don't get drafted, keep working, because there are free agent signings after the draft too. So if you're a young kid and you don't get drafted, you're listening right now, just keep at it, and you know, keep your tapes going to the teams, because they'll pick you up late.
And it's, you know, we talked to Darian yesterday, and it'll be interesting to see, because there's some pressure here. Yeah, it's only a workout, and some people, you know, call it the underwear Olympics in the NFL and all that. But there's some pressure here for these kids, and you want to see that. You want to see how they perform in pressure when they're kind of out on an island.
That's why I would put way more emphasis, if I was a coach or general manager in the league, I would put way more emphasis on the actual reps, how they recover from a bad play while they're taking reps, if it's one-on-ones or, you know, a skeleton kind of drill where you're playing 8-on-8, just receivers, DBs kind of thing, linebackers. And then you can get into some team looks too, depending on the combine. But, you know, when you get those reps, you're going to get your opportunities to make those plays. First of all, did you make them or not? How close were you? And if you don't, if you get beat, coaches are looking at how you respond to that. Do you go back and does your head drop and you start pouting and that play affects the next 4 plays? Or are you bouncing right back, giving credit where credit is due, because the guy who beat you, he's a good athlete too. And so go back out there and get another rep and make amends immediately. So and then the interview process, Barney, I think that's so much more important than the difference between a 4.5 and a 4.4. Really. The testing to me, the worst part about the testing, and I know I've ranted about this before, but the worst part about the testing for me is that the athlete has to practice the 40. And when you have to practice your start for hours upon hours, you're not using that time to practice backpedaling and practice covering and practice running routes, practice catching the ball. All the things that you need in the game, you're taking that time away to practice coming out of a three-point stance, which you will never do in a game. Even the offensive linemen don't come out of a sprinter's three-point stance. They have their head up, they're looking for who they're going to block, and they usually drop into pass mode immediately. So it's just, I don't know. I know the coaches fall in love with it and they love it, and a guy comes through at 4.4 and they everyone's salivating basically, and I honestly, Barney, I'm not saying this because I wasn't fast.
Yeah. No, and again, we talked to Darian yesterday about, and I brought up, like, it is such a slim, razor thin margin on athletes these days, and what scouts and general managers, like, it'd be such a hard position to be in. And then, the character thing comes in, and the interviews, and what are the coaches saying about them? What are their high school coaches saying about them? You got to go deep, right? Like, we know this in the NFL, especially, they go deep, and I'm sure CFL is the same way. And at the end of the day, what is your gut going to tell you? And what's the data say, and what's the gut? So it'll be really interesting for people. I want to, before we let you go, and we're going to circle back on this probably a few times. You haven't heard anything about the commissioner role, have you?
I have not. No.
So Farhan said last week that they're kind of going through the interview process. It's almost done. So what I know, and again, he asked to remain nameless, is our Saskatchewan guy, financial guy, didn't even get an interview. He's not even sure that they looked at his proposal, which I'm hoping to wash a bit and be able to send it to you, Arash, Farhan, guys like that, because I just think there were some really proactive ways and progressive ways to look at the CFL. And the one big thing, Glenn, was and I kind of fall on that too, because sometimes I like to be devil's advocate, but Maz and I talked about, we got 15,000 people in the Calgary Stadium, and pushing. Is that the new norm? And if it is, then where else are we looking to bring in revenue? Because obviously then people watching are on TV, because it's comfortable to watch anything on TV these days. And then what is the streaming? It's got to be more than just the TV deal. So I'm wondering, if the league just wants someone and the owners that they can control, where are we even going to get change then?
Well, I think the history of this is that the owners have been sort of in control. The owners and the board of governors on the publicly owned teams are the ones that, really make the decisions. Are there, it's their desk where the final call is made, and it's usually a vote. It has to be, a vote in the favor of yes, and then you go ahead with the change. But the commissioner has been someone trying to bring that group together. It's been someone who is trying to, and maybe that's what they're looking for, which I think can work, as long as that guy is bringing together professionals that realize that the competition isn't in the boardroom. It's on the field, yes, but it isn't in the boardroom. That everybody thinking the same way and pulling the rope in the same direction is going to get some of these initiatives going and moving so that you can increase revenues. I keep, every time this happens, I hear a lot of people in the media and in social media say, well, it's pretty simple. The commissioner has got to generate new revenues. Well, that's kind of like saying it's pretty simple. In order for me to survive, I have to drink water and breathe air. Well, yes. The question is, in a country with our teams, our 9 teams, and what do we have, 43 million people now? So not 370 million, 40 million. And where is that revenue going to come from? I think the new commissioner, if he can consolidate the board, bring them together so it's a united front, but also is bringing in the messaging to the fans, the young kids and the flag football development, and leaning big time into that, because those are your future. Those are your future fans. And you mentioned streaming. Now, I'm not in the meetings at TSN. I know that they are going to be all in to try and continue the partnership with the Canadian Football League. That's the only messaging I've heard from executives at TSN. But the streaming end of it is something I think that is a little bit uncharted. I mean, we're seeing other sports do it now. So what can the board and a new commissioner create there? I think that's an interesting one. I don't know enough about it, but I think that's an interesting one. You got to know what you don't know too. But in the meantime, a new commissioner with the right messaging that believes in the Canadiana of this game, that wants to engage the kid. You've probably been to Disneyland many times, right, Barney?
No, just once, Disney World, and I probably will never go back.
Okay.
It was okay, though. It was okay.
Okay, but Disney didn't sell you. Disney sold your kids.
Absolutely.
Disney said, here, look at Buzz Lightyear. Your kid loved him. And then you went to Disneyland. You spent thousands of dollars on Disney because they sold your kids. And, I think that's when you fall in love with sports. That's when you fall in love with a sport. When you're a kid playing street hockey, you fall in love with hockey. You ask your dad, can I play hockey? It really works that way. And the opportunity here is here right now with flag football. It is here. The Olympics are coming up for flag football. This is a way to grow the fan base in a big way, and the revenues will follow. Take care of the game, take care of that fan base, that young fan base, and the business will take care of itself at the other end. And that streaming thing is a big part of it.
We're gonna have, we'll circle back on this a few times. I think the last stats I saw, 42% of Canadian households did not have a TV subscription. We gotta look at streaming, and maybe TSN. Is there another provider? I don't know, but we can circle back. Okay, so give us a quick rundown on how the trip finishes. You're in Edinburgh right now, probably going to go to the Royal Mile, have a pint for me.
That's as soon as we hang up. That's where that's where I'm heading. But no, this is 3 or 4 more days. This is our last leg, and it is to pay homage to the fight for independence for Scotland, Robert the Bruce, William Wallace. The movie is not really that accurate in a lot of ways, but there are some truths to it. We're going to go to Edinburgh Castle, and I drove.
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah. We're staying right across from it. And 3 hours of driving from Newcastle to Edinburgh, and I must have drove by 5 golf courses, Barney. I'm just saying. Like,
I know. Don't get me going. You only have 3 or 4 days left, and I know you're doing the William Wallace stuff and all that. But if you do have 4 or 5 hours, take the train from Edinburgh to Lukers, which is the train station outside of St. Andrews.
Okay.
It's about an hour beautiful train ride, an hour back. Go have a couple of pints in St. Andrews and witness that golf course. and it's a public park. You can walk through the first and 18th hole. It'll blow your mind. You'll just be like, this is serious.
Barney, we Googled it on the way up. I said, how far is St. Andrews? Because the host of the show that I work on is a big time golfer, and I wonder if I sent the picture.
Yep, do it. And the Dunvegan is now owned by Canadians. It's the pint where all the the pub where all the caddies go at the end of the round. You won't be able to miss it. It's a block away. And then there's a gift shop across the street. If you do go there, text me, because I'm going to get you to pick me up something, and then I'll e-transfer you, and then I'll get it when you come in for a game. I'm serious. You got to go. It's an hour train ride. It's a beautiful train ride. It's easy. You get from Lucas into town. There's a big rugby field you'll see, and there's 7 golf courses, and it's just like, wow, this is something else.
Okay, I will work on it, my friend, and I'll keep you posted.
Okay, we'll hopefully chat with you on Thursday, Glenn.
Okay, thanks, Barney.
Thanks so much.